It's DTS 224, the final episode of Destiny the Show.
You're listening to Destiny the Show.
What is good, everybody, and welcome to Destiny the Show. I almost wanted to say it, Ditty, but all right. The Destiny News podcast that keeps you, the Guardian, ahead of the curve in the world of Destiny. I am BBKDRAGOON. I'm joined by my great co-host, Ditty. We are on the final episode, my man. How is your day going?
Day is going very well. It's morning time. I had an Einstein Brothers bagel, farmhouse sandwich, by the way, if you're wondering, and a Starbucks, so I am ready to go.
It's like a holiday, dude. You are starting the morning off right. I've had my coffee. I haven't made eggs just yet. I haven't made breakfast, so like that coffee is going to be getting real acidic here pretty soon. And I debated a second cup. Like, you know when you're feeling real dangerous, you're like, I'm going to have a second cup this morning before I eat anything. Yeah. I don't think I'm ready for that level of anxiety, right? All of the sense of urgency with none of the benefits of feeling awake or more motivated, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not functional in the morning without caffeine, unfortunately. I'm at that point.
Yeah, I think I used to be way worse in college. Like, I would drink coffee at all hours of the day. I don't know about you.
Wake up at 8:30 in the morning and open a Red Bull. That was college for me. It was bad.
Lots of those energy drinks. Well, today, everybody, this is the final episode of Destiny the Show. We've been talking about this on the program now for a month. We gave our explanation as to why we're wrapping up the program today 4 weeks ago, but we're going to reiterate that today. This is going to be a different kind of Destiny the Show. We've wanted to share with you guys for a long time lots of stories about the program that we've never talked about here before. Some of our favorite moments, least favorite moments, the origin of the podcast, statistics about like when the show was the most popular and like how like actually telling you guys the numbers from Podbean and from YouTube and that kind of a deal. Some funny stories about our merchandise and just sort of parting thoughts for you guys, the listeners. I want to frame the whole show with a huge sense of gratitude to you guys, the listeners, for over 4.5 years of support on this weekly show. It has been surreal, and I will say, Diddy, it's a bit bittersweet recording this with you today because I've had an incredible time this last 4.5 years. A huge thank you to you too, man, for showing up and us doing this show each week, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have said it better. It's just been a wild ride, and I'm really excited to talk about a few of the things that we have here today in the show notes.
Yes. So news-wise, there wasn't a whole lot happening, at least new, for Destiny 2 this week, but if you hop in the game itself, there is so much stuff to do. You have Festival of the Lost. We had this double Valor into triple Valor weekend. Iron Banner is continuing. I mean, it's probably over by the time people are listening to this. But wow, like there's quite a bit to do between all three of those activities. You and I both hopped into Iron Banner. Did you get your bounties done?
I got all of them but one, and that was the Create Orbs of Light, and that's because I am stubborn and I was playing Night Stalker. So, well, that's not true. I did do the Blade Twirly Hunter Super Way of 1,000 Cuts. I can't remember the name, sorry. And I just don't have it upgraded all the way. But I got most of them done. It was mainly did it because of the powerful upgrades. And yes, I did play Iron Banner solo. Yes, it was not super awesome, but I got it done. And I went up like 15 or 17 light levels. It was pretty nice.
Nice. I did similarly. I played pretty much the whole week solo. I think I have 3 bounties that I didn't complete, or maybe 4 bounties. No, 3 bounties that I didn't finish off. Maybe I'll do that before Iron Banner concludes. We're recording here on Sunday. I'm stubborn too, dude. I like my Dawn Blade. If you're a good warlock right now, you got to be using the Nova Warp, like the teleporting Nova Bomb, because
I hate that one. Oh my goodness!
Don't you like the freaking grenade, the one-hit grenade? That's just ridiculous.
Oh yeah, that mini supernova. Oh,
yeah, handheld.
When I first died to that, dude just ran around the corner and I died instantly. I was like, "What in the heck was that?"
It felt like old school Destiny 1, doesn't it? It's
I know, man.
Oh, there's counterplay potential, huh? Okay. Gotcha. But yeah, I think I felt the power level difference a little bit heavier this time. I'm 570 power, and bumping up against the 600 guys, no big deal. But when you ran into a lower level player, I think you take the record, right, of the lowest You way beat me with a low-level guy, right?
Yeah, I played mostly with the lower level people for some strange reason because I was around 530 light, but I was seeing a lot of sub 510s, even in the 400s.
Oh,
But I was extremely fortunate in that I once played a game with or against a 488 light, and I two-shot him with a scout rifle. And it was just like, because I didn't know. It was at the very beginning of the match, and I just two headshot, and he died instantly, and I was like, what just happened? And I looked at the roster, and I was like, oh, okay. Why are you in this playlist, dude?
he wants a challenge, man. It's like Piccolo.
He
He's
did.
got the weights on his body.
He really did, yeah.
The Infinite Forest thing was kind of cool.
The Haunted Forest, sir.
What'd you think of it? You're the more PvE guy.
I thought it was an interesting challenge. I think Destiny 2 needs something like that that's not timed, where you just keep going and going until it's just impossible to proceed, because Glad and his clan, they got to waves or branch 16. They said 17 was possible and 18 was kind of possible with super lucky RNG, but I thought it was a pretty neat little challenge, but I think it just needs to be endless in the game.
Oh, man. I so agree. After a week of playing Black Ops 4, the zombies mode, Ditty, and I know you love Killing Floor 2,
Yes.
It is so apparent to me that they have all the recipes for a brilliant endless game mode. I mean, they've done firefights since back in ODST. I don't understand why they've not put together a Prison of Elders endless wave-based survival mode. It would fit so ridiculously perfectly. Yeah. They have all these boss mobs, all these yellow bars, all these modifiers, and a crazy sandbox to work with. Bungie, you are missing out on maybe what is some of the easiest evergreen content that you could create. Make the mode, and then just keep adding new rewards every month to it, dude. Right?
Yeah, that would be incredible. Like, it's defend the tower or defend the wall or something, and or like a grimoire going into the Infinite Forest to do like the Siege of the Six Fronts or whatever it was in the lore, and just be a part of that moment in Destiny history. And it was, man, do that, please.
Yeah. All right, let's keep rolling along with the show. I'm going to re-explain why we're wrapping up the program. If any of you guys heard this back 4 weeks ago, awesome, but there's been a lot of questions from people who maybe didn't hear show 220 about why are you guys leaving? Why are you ending the program? The best way I can sum it up is last 4.5 years we've done this weekly show. It's been a lot of fun. But every show takes, I would say, 4 to 6 hours of work between recording, editing, rendering, uploading, all that stuff.
Researching.
Yeah. Wait, we research? You've been doing that
for
for
show
4
notes?
years?
I mean, I do.
I'm just kidding.
Slacker.
I'm being an idiot. And it's a lot of time out of our schedule. When we started the program, we were in our mid-20s, and now we're in our late 20s, and our real-life jobs have become more challenging, more time-consuming, and it's been tougher for us to produce the show on this weekly basis. And so with Forsaken, how well the game went over, it's time that we wrap up the program, hang up the headphones, and sort of walk away into the sunset. Ditty and I had talked probably a year and a half ago about when we wanted to sort of see Destiny the show conclude. And we wanted it to be not tied to the state of the game. A lot of people and content creators left during the spring, during the rough months of Curse of Osiris. Totally understandable. In fact, if you look at Google Trends for Destiny 2, you can see just how dismally low the interest was in Destiny at that time when you had such a long string of Destiny 2 controversy, the XP throttling thing, the communication missteps, into Curse of Osiris. But Ditty and I didn't want to end the program on like that kind of a note, like, throw our cap down. We're so mad at this game, we're walking away. We wanted it to be separate of that. So really happy that timing worked out to where Forsaken ended up being great, and this is a nice time for us to step away. We've loved Destiny the show, but it's tough. We're both getting older, and it is harder for us to put time into these kind of endeavors. Is that a good explanation?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's perfect. Spot on.
Cool. So it has nothing to do with being salty or sour. Both of us loved Forsaken, and I think it was a really cool way to wrap up our D2 experience in terms of the podcast. Now, a few questions I've been seeing. BBK, are you ending YouTube? No, I'm still going to be creating YouTube content. Is Ditty going away? No, Ditty's still going to be probably making videos together with me here on the channel, and he's going to make his own content too when he has time. And we may even come back to do some sort of Christmas special, or we will still keep our foot in the door. And Ditty, are we closing down the Discord?
No, absolutely not. No. Too many people have helped that community grow, and we don't want to, close that down. So the Destiny the Show Discord, discord.me/Destiny the Show, is going to stay up for anyone who wants to use it. There's a great community over there. We got lots of familiar faces that like to run things over there, and it's really nice. And BBK and myself are both pretty involved over there as well.
Yep. So the only thing that's sort of going away is just this weekly podcast, and it has been super awesome. So let's move on and let's start talking about some of the stuff we wanted to chat about here, Ditty. I've got a list of things like, what was your favorite era of Destiny? What was your least favorite? What was your favorite time of the podcast? The Podbean numbers, our crazy merch story, all that stuff. Why don't we sort of reminisce and get all nostalgic here? Everybody put your rose-tinted glasses on, and let's look back to the past. What was some of your favorite, I guess, using Destiny words, triumphs throughout Destiny over the last 4.5 years? Some of the things that you really remember that stand out to you as your favorite moments of playing the game.
So I think there's two moments that really come to mind, and they were both in Destiny 1. One of them being defeating Skolas with Arcburn before he was nerfed.
Pre-nerf.
It was...
Oh, man.
That was the most challenging fight, I think, in my opinion, because it wasn't too reliant on the mechanics. It was more working about the team, that 3-man fire team, and just surviving all of the Vandal snipers and all of the Skolas stuff, and how you couldn't use Galahorn because it wasn't solar burn.
Yep.
You had to use arc weapons, and it was tough, man.
Most of
I
the
would say
enemies
that
shot
is
arc.
Yeah, I mean, it was all Fallen, so pretty much the majority of everything was Arc, except for maybe the captains and Skolas himself. They did Solar Burn, but still, it was ridiculous. Like, we didn't have Risk Runner then. Risk Runner would have been absolutely amazing in that game mode. That would have been incredible. But it was difficult, and I really, really enjoyed that challenge. I would say that was more challenging than King's Fall hard mode, because King's Fall hard mode, that last Oryx fight, man, it relied too much on mechanics and networking, and it was rough. You could do everything right, and the network would just crap itself, and you would lose. Skolas wasn't like that, and it was a good challenge, and it was very rewarding at the end of that.
Yeah, if any of you didn't play Destiny 1 and you want to experience like a tough fight, you can't really get back to the power range that it was at the time, or the pre-nerf. So
yeah, because we were under-leveled still at that time. Like, max level was, I think, 34, and I was 33, 32, and we were technically under-leveled.
What were they called? Yeah. And you could only get a few of those. Basically, there was a 30-second debuff that you had to keep passing to a different teammate. You couldn't pass it to the same teammate, so you had to keep rotating it in your 3-man squad. And then the pre-nerf Skolas, new waves of enemies would spawn every 90 seconds. And
yeah, it didn't matter how many you killed. They would just keep coming.
Yeah, and then they sort of checkpointed the enemies to where once you wiped the wave, then you'd see the next one come out, kind of a deal. I loved that fight, dude. I think you and I both still hold Skolas in a really high regard. There was no checkpoints, so at that point, you were an hour and a half usually into... We're talking when it first came out, guys, not like after people were hauling ass through it. Like, but you were an hour and a half to 2 hours in by the time you got to Skolas. You were playing it with Sassy. Didn't he fall asleep?
Yeah, so I have a YouTube clip of this, actually. Man, playing with two Australians in the middle of the day in America, it's like 3 or 4 a.m. for them. They've been playing for 18 hours straight, and they were just super tired. And we were on probably our best Skolas run. We had never beaten it before. And it was like, that was the run we were going to do. And Aura and I both died, and Sassy was last man standing, and he fell asleep. And we were just like shouting into the mics, like, Sassy, wake up. He's asleep, dude. No. And then we we looked at his cam, and he was just standing there, and Skolas was just slowly approaching with his Scorch Cannon. He was like, hey, gotcha. And he killed him. It was like, no.
Good times.
That was pretty funny.
And then what else were some of your favorite memories from D1?
The only other thing that I would say is a top triumph for me was completing the original Thorn bounty, like when it was still its own bounty, on a hunter in Destiny 1. Because here, I'm just gonna let me just pull it up real quick. It was called A Light in the Dark, year 1 Thorn bounty, and there were 7 steps, or 6 steps rather, and one of them was use void damage to defeat guardians in the Crucible. Death will slow your progress. So that required 500 points. 5 points are gained per kill, 2 lost per death, meaning that progress is made as long as an average ratio of void kills to deaths is sustained above 0.4. I'm reading that straight off the wiki. So kills must be made with a weapon or skill that does void damage. Assists do not count. And at this time, hunters did not have a void subclass. Yeah. And I was still on the PlayStation 4, and this was before I got it on Xbox in December. So the first 3 months of Destiny, I got this bounty, and I grinded through it. The only void weapon I had was a void shotgun, and this was way before shotguns were good in the Crucible. And it was the most nightmarish thing ever. I had to camp, I remember, on Rusted Lands, and it was just, I had to camp in that little hallway or tunnel that connected the 2 parts of the map, and I would just sit there with my shotgun and be like, okay, I got to get at least 2 kills before I die. And it was like, I had to play maybe 60 games to get it done, and it was absolutely horrifying. And this was back when Thorn was not super great either. It had 6 shots, it shot slower, its reload was atrocious, and it was like, it was good, but it wasn't where it was in the House of Wolves era.
Yeah, the February 2015 patch hadn't gone live yet.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like this super hard grind on a hunter with 1 single void weapon, and it was a nightmare. Ugh.
Yeah, I think people would lose their minds. Like when you look at the nerf that the Ace of Spades quest got, and then you look back at A Light in the Dark, the quest line from this, you're like, people would have lost their minds.
Yeah, because I was complaining about it and be like, well, it's not that hard. And I'm like, dude, you're a warlock with Nova Bomb. Yeah. It's way easier for you to get void kills, like multiple void kills. And the Titans even, like they had the Ward of Dawn, I guess, but they had void grenades and a void melee. Hunters, nope, you had to use a weapon, and it was either a special or a heavy weapon at that point. And it was just like, man, it was rough.
Yeah. I remember 2 main things, like 2 of my favorite, I guess, triumphs from Destiny was for a pretty good period of time throughout Destiny 1's lifespan, I did trials runs with Sassy and Aura, and also Chozo Cat, like some really good friends, a couple of those guys, Australians, that we played with regularly and chatted about. And it got to the point where we could do weird challenge runs, right? So we did a No Land Beyond Flawless weekend. We did
before
one Flawless.
It was buffed.
Before it was buffed. No, I think it was late.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't do an
So
early.
after they made the reticle change so that you could see through it better?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, I'm sure
gotcha.
Sassy and those guys did before me, but I remember I have a lot of these highlights on my YouTube channel. What is the Twilight Gap? Okay, on Twilight Gap, I had set up a perfect cross-map Nova Bomb from the spawn to where the capture point was. So if you let the round expire and it went to the capture point, I had it perfectly set up, Ditty, to where I could throw the Nova Bomb straight up, and as they're capturing the point, it would Nova Bomb and hit the point right as they were about to get it. And I have a video of that. And it's just, that was so fun because Trials became, it's not to sound arrogant, Trials, like during Destiny 1, you could go flawless if you had the right skill set. And so it turned into, with the right teammates, you could do all sorts of funky, silly challenge runs, and if you lost your card, whatever, you'd do it again. I really do miss old Trials. I think that was what seriously gave Destiny 1 a lot of momentum on Twitch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I hope that when they bring it back, it rekindles that fire.
Yeah, me too. Second thing I remember is Planet Destiny invited me onto the channel to create content and weapon reviews for them around January, I think, of 2015. And Planet Destiny back then was comprised mainly of the Destiny community podcast crew. And it was a really cool deal, and I'm extremely grateful for it. But it was like a never-ending fear fest for me. Am I going to say something wrong in these weapon reviews? Am I going to do something incorrect? Because their main reviewer was Patrick Casey, and he's a legend. He's incredible at making weapon reviews.
He set the standard for weapon reviews, yeah.
Yeah, incredible content creator. And I remember my first review, like the Matador 64, I said was like a really good weapon, but I had shot it a bunch at the wall to look at the pellet pattern or something, and I said it had 9 pellets instead of shotgun's usual 12. Turns out it doesn't. Every shotgun has, I think, 12. If I got the numbers wrong now, guys, it's been years. I can't remember. But I just kept shooting against the wall, and on the 50th freaking shot, I finally got one where it showed all 12 pellets. I was like, oh, that's stupid. And of course, everybody points it out in the comments. And we used to give damage stats back then. Nobody does that now because of like level scaling and stuff. But back then you'd be like, all right, against a yellow bar enemy, you're dealing this kind of damage, right? And I can't remember what scout rifle or something I was reviewing, but the daily mission I went into had small arms on it, which buffs the primary weapon damage. And I didn't even think about it because we were trying to pump so many videos out, dude, and so quickly. And of course, the damage stats I gave were wrong because they had small arms on it. Everybody points that out. It was fun, but dude, those reviews were nerve-wracking. It was a good crucible for me, no pun intended, because it pushed me to learn a lot more about the game and perks and then,
yeah, what's that saying that the easiest or the best way to get the right information is to post the wrong answer on the internet?
There's a lot of knowledgeable people out there who will tell you
you're wrong.
You're wrong. All right, before we move into the next portion of the show today, I want to play our Christmas intro from a few years ago. This is one of my favorite Destiny triumphs. I wish we could have had more time to make more of these, but this is the Christmas show intro from a few years ago.
Welcome, my friends. It's good to see you again. It's been another mighty good year here in Destiny. Oh, on your way in, make sure you grab a sugary engram, some chocolate strange coins, maybe some void fish while you're at it. What's that? You brought me a gift? What could it be? DLC, maybe? Oh, okay, no. Oh, or perhaps another raid. Oh, okay. All right, I'll just open it then. Oh, thank you, a year one Yellowhorn. Oh, you say you bought it from Zerais? Thank you. I wanted one of these a long time ago. Did you bring Skolas with you? Who brought Skolas?
Dismantle mines, yes. Or die.
Tanix, I told you no. Don't bring those in here. It's a Sunbreaker, we've got to run! Ah, thank you, Kate. Back in my day, headshot didn't quite do that, but well done.
It's not the getting in, it's the getting out.
Okay. Bathrooms down the hall to the left. Use your ghost to get in, you know how.
Eyes up, Guardian.
Good to be back.
Oh my gosh, who let Dinklage in? Oh, I know he was here last year, but we don't really want him there anymore. I mean, it's awkward. Nolan's right over there on the couch. I mean, it's just, awkward. Oh, it's starting. Everybody, come here. Welcome to Destiny, the show.
Good times, Ditty, good times. All those sound effects and stuff.
Oh my gosh. So silly.
Maybe we'll come back this Christmas. Maybe we'll show up and surprise people. What do you think?
I would say we're going to say we're not going to do that and then do it anyway, so it's a surprise.
Good call. Good call, Ditty. All right, more fun. What was your least favorite era of Destiny? And then we'll talk about our favorite era of Destiny. We're thinking in the last 4.5 years, what was your favorite time period of the game and your least favorite time period of the game?
My favorite time period would have to be probably Taken King era.
Yeah.
There was so many new improvements to the game that just made it addictive as all get out. And that was the first era of Destiny that I was raid ready on launch day, so that just it has, you know, a special place in my heart. Defeating Golgroth for the first time after 6 or 7 hours, that was like the best thing ever. Now, least favorite is going to be the first time Fellwinter's Lie, that shotgun sniper that dropped in the Iron Banner, and it was a shotgun blink meta. You could get Fellwinter's Lie with like rangefinder and shot package or something ridiculous, and it was just like you aim down sights with the Fellwinter's Lie and you killed people with greater ease than a sniper rifle. It was ridiculous. Like there was so many. I remember seeing this one video on YouTube. I can't remember who created it, I'm sorry, but it was a joke about how good Fellwinter's Lie was, and it was a clip of him on I can't remember what the map is called, Shores of Time, of him standing on a heavy ammo, and he was looking across at point B, and he just had his Fellwinter's Lie out, and he like shot a few times, like that should have worked, and he shot it a few more times, and then he like photoshopped the kill score on his reticle, so it looked like he killed him from that far away.
Oh, like a meme.
Funny. Yeah. It was good times, but that was awful. Absolutely awful, and I hated that so much.
Then you pair that with Blink, the Blink Warlocks with that max distance thing, and it was so hard to counterplay, dude. It was so good for a while.
It was you abused it like no other.
But I didn't have the God Roll Fellwinters. I think I used like a Matador or something.
But I mean, it didn't matter because Fellwinter's was just good. Base stats.
Yeah.
It was high, super high impact, good range, and it was great. So, and if you had that God roll, it was absolutely disgusting.
Yeah. I think my favorite time period probably aligns with you and with a lot of players. I enjoyed House of Wolves a lot, and that summer leading into the Taken King, I had a ton of fun with the game. But
that's when Thorn Apocalypse was happening.
Which is ironic. We were all very upset with the February to September balance or August balance with
But
Thorn
you loved
Apocalypse.
that time period.
And then everybody looks back and goes, we wish we had that lethality and that kill time that we did back then. Even today, dude, people reference that era of how quickly you could take down opponents with the 2 taps.
Yeah,
and
the last word. Hawk Moon, one-shotting. Oof.
I think people always crave a little bit of chaos with Destiny PvP. Not feeling unfair, but the feeling that you are powerful and there's counterplay potential. Anyway, I'm getting off topic there. What I remember though with the Taken King is when you concluded the campaign, and then was the quest called the Taken War? Was that what it was?
Yes.
Okay. When you got the quest, because it was the first time we had quest stuff in Destiny, and it just kept going on and on and on and on. I loved that. I don't even think I've felt that way in Forsaken, to be honest. Even though Forsaken has given me maybe more of a trail, more of a thing to chase, breadcrumbs after I've completed the main stuff. For whatever reason, the way they wrapped up the package in the Taken King just felt like, okay, beating the campaign is the start of your adventure. Now get ready. And Whisper of the Worm is cool, but we really haven't had any of those secret exotics showing up, like do this mission backwards when it's the daily, and oh my gosh, it's this crazy thing here. Like, anyway, I loved that era. My least favorite era, since I talked so much about Trials, was there was a point in time where Firebolt nades, if you had Viking Funeral on, was it the Sunsingers that gave you 2 nades? Anyway, there was an exotic where you could get 2 of the grenades as the Warlock, and they were viciously good. Firebolt nades were they were so strong. And this comes from a Warlock who kind of abused them and used them as well. Like myself, I enjoyed it, but it went on for a long enough time where it was probably one of the biggest PvP concerns. Right. It was one of the biggest outcries from the community saying, please nerf Firebolts. Please nerf Firebolts. And I will always remember there was a Bungie stream talking about some upcoming piece of content. And one of the balance designers, I think I know who it is, but I'm not going to say, basically was reading the chat, taking questions from chat. And people were asking all about Firebolts. Like the whole chat was just a wall of Firebolt question mark. And the answer that was given, I think, was something like, we don't have any plans for class balance changes on this next upcoming patch. And it missed the mark so huge. It was like you took a knife and stabbed all these PvP players in the stomach because they're like, what do you mean? Like, it was almost like they were completely unaware that it was an issue, right?
Yeah, it's the best example of the biggest disconnect between a community and the developers that Destiny has probably ever seen. It like the whole front page of Reddit for the whole month previous leading up to the stream was Firebolts and Viking Funeral needs to be addressed, because if you were like under 5 armor on your Guardian in the Crucible and you got hit with the Firebolt plus the Viking Funeral burn, you would die. And it was just like a slow burn until you're dead.
It lasted forever.
It lasted like 9 seconds or 7 seconds.
So you couldn't even
ridiculous.
heal up for like 30 seconds.
Yeah, your only saving grace was if you had a helmet with like health regen on orb pickup, and you picked up an orb to kind of like mitigate some of the damage. And it was rough. It was
pair that with a thorn burn, like the thorn tick, and it was like,
yeah,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was there. You hit someone with a firebolt and then tapped them with a thorn once, and then you ran away because you knew they would die. That was insane.
And that lasted a long time, if I remember. So, what was your favorite time on the podcast?
Back, of course, King's Fall again. Before hard mode had come out, we were thinking of ways they could make the raid more difficult. And I just kind of threw this out of left field. I said, what would be really funny is if in the jump puzzle with all the hive ships, you know how there's that platform halfway through?
Yeah.
Well, another hive ship spawns right next to it. So if they removed that platform, you'd kind of have to make a quick jump to the side. So if they made that, I think that'll be in hard mode. And that was just that was a nonsense suggestion. And they actually did it. So it was like, I cannot believe I called that, but I did. So there you go.
Nostradamus. You had a few like call outs like that really came true during the podcast. And I remember like
that's the one that sticks out the most to me though.
Yeah, we were playing King's Fall normal and you said they're gonna take this platform away in hard mode, just watch. And I think you got made fun of in the group because they had never changed geometry. Like why they changed fights, but why on earth in a jump puzzle would they change geometry? It's almost like the Gorgon's maze now doesn't feature like half of these tunnels or something. What? That didn't happen,
Yeah.
And then it happened, and you're still smug about it years on, Ditty. I'm glad to hear that.
I am. That's gonna go on my resume.
Called it. King's Fall jump puzzle. I don't know if I have a favorite time on the podcast. Oh, I do. Okay. Year 1 of Destiny 1 was so cool as a news podcast, because we still have the show notes from back then. The community was busy discovering things. You had data miners like Mega Man EXE who could try and predict Xur and predict content drops. You had locked off areas. You had all these thoughts about what Destiny could be. And the amount of news that came out during year 1, I know we joke about content drop, but year 1 of Destiny 1, I feel like had a very steady stream of stuff to do since it was a new game and we were still discovering it. And there was a really steady stream of things to talk about. Now, when you get to Rise of Iron, it was much harder, like having the Taken King be a full year of Destiny and not a whole lot of news past that initial launch. And then Rise of Iron being a full year until Age of Triumph the next spring. So I look back and adore year 1 and getting to be a podcast in that space at that time, which kind of segues nicely, Ditty, into talking about the Podbean and the YouTube numbers, like when the show was the most popular, listenership, all that stuff. You want to hop in there?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have all the numbers. I've never really shared this, I guess, on the show, but during year 1 of Destiny 1, we had some nice viewership over on YouTube and some nice numbers on Podbean, but it like exploded right after The Dark Below came out. So from The Dark Below until like 1 month after The Taken King, we had consistently like 8,000 listeners on iTunes, sometimes up to, we had shows that hit like 30 or 40,000 listens on iTunes, but very consistently 8,000 to 12,000 listeners on iTunes. And then YouTube, we could have 5 to 10,000 listeners. And that was from that period between like February and then 1 month after The Taken King. 1 month after The Taken King, we saw the numbers go from 8K down to, I would say, maybe 4 to 5K on iTunes. And then during Rise of Iron, like after it lowered even further. And we've sort of leveled out about 3,000 listeners a week on iTunes. And then about 1.5 to 3,000 listeners on YouTube. But there really was, from the Dark Below through House of Wolves and into the Taken King, a huge spike of popularity in Destiny stuff. And as a result, you guys helped Destiny the Show become one of Podbean's top 10 gaming podcasts in both 2015 and 2016, which was insane for us. Like, huge numbers, and that was all because of you guys and your listenership. And I'm amazed, Ditty, how steady it stayed even during content drought months. Even after Curse of Osiris, we still were getting about 3,000 to 4,000 listens a show on iTunes, and I wasn't expecting that, and that's really cool. So,
yeah, I mean, at the time we're recording this podcast, we have on Podbean alone 1.5 million downloads. That's insane to me. And the last 10 weeks we've had over 4,000 listeners or downloads, and that's just Podbean alone, and that feeds the iTunes as well as Google Play and other podcast apps. So that blows my mind. That's incredible.
There's a lot of people, and we sort of, I think part of it though is we entered the scene early. I think that's a big benefit. Is when we began, there was Guardian Radio, but nothing else jumps out. I mean, there were maybe 2 or 3 other podcasts, but at the time there was probably 3 or 4 Destiny podcasts in the scene. Apologies to anybody that I'm missing, but I do remember like Guardian Radio, those guys got started really early. I think like 2013, maybe even
before
2012.
the alpha came out.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as it was announced, the subreddit went up, and then from the subreddit they spawned Guardian Radio, and it was like 8 months of no Destiny news, and they still did podcasts. That was incredible.
Yeah, they're a great show. If you guys want to find another cast to listen to, Guardian Radio for years and years has just done quality work.
Yeah, and then, a little bit through the first year of Destiny, we saw, the Planet Destiny podcast and Crucible Radio spawn up, and Destiny Reset, as well as a few the Ghost Stories podcast that took the lore with its really high production value. Incredible.
There's
Absolutely
so many
incredible.
good podcasts now, dude. It's insane. And you and I got to be guests on the Planet Destiny podcast twice when it was first coming out, and that was really fun. And it's great to see how that has evolved over time. I mean, that original Planet Destiny crew turning into the DCP crew, the Destiny Community Podcast crew, who does just a really, really great job of interacting with the community and bringing on some real pillars of the scene. And that's just cool, man. It's awesome to see these kind of legacies play out. I think now would be a good time to talk about our merchandise. How about that, crazy Ditty?
Welcome to Crazy Ditty's Tower Shop. We got more deals than you got glimmer. We got t-shirts, unisex t-shirts, women's tees, pullover hoodies, classic t-shirts, tri-blended t-shirts, women's shifting tops, contrast tank tops, women's fitted scoop tees, women's v-necks, women's relaxed fitted tees. Phone cases, iPhone and Samsung Galaxy, throw pillows, mugs for coffee, tea, hot chocolate, the salty tears of your enemies, you name it. And when you can't carry no more, go on and grab yourself a DTS tote bag to carry all your DTS merchandise in. So skip on over past the Eververse Thief test and come on down to Crazy Ditty's Tower Shop.
Crazy Ditty's Tower Shop doesn't take liability for any raid wipes or trial shutdowns while wearing DTS merchandise. Strange coins and legendary marks are not accepted as valid forms of payment, nor are worms or Nadium flakes. Ogres may become enraged at the sight of DTS merchandise. If the enragement lasts longer than 4 hours, contact the speaker immediately. We're not affiliated with Eververse, Banshee 44, Mad Holidays, or any other agents of the Nine.
Crazy Ditty's Tower Shop. Well, Tess put him out of business, so...
Literally.
So, what was it, our first anniversary that we... you can talk about some of the logistics, but we did have Testing the Show merchandise. If you're a newer listener to the show, you're probably wondering where our merch is. Well, it came and went. We had t-shirts, mugs. I have a coffee mug and a coffee tumbler that has the Destiny the Show logo on it. And thank you guys for those of you who have one of these pieces of merchandise. That was you have the most limited edition Destiny merchandise ever. So congratulations.
Yeah. We reached out to one of our good friends, Zebra, who's an artist, like a really talented guy, and we wanted to redesign the logo with the intention of also allowing it to be used on merchandise. So we went and we looked up the kind of rules most companies have rules about their trademarks and about their copyrighted intellectual property stuff. And we actually made sure we created a logo that followed by the rules that Destiny had laid out. Like you can't use
and this
the
is the logo that you see today.
Yeah.
This is the
Engram.
the Engram with the microphone in the middle of it. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that we learned in that process is you can't use the tricorn without like their express written permission. The tricorn being like the Destiny logo thing. You told me that word, Ditty, and I'll never forget it. The tricorn. It's like an acorn, but 3.
Yeah, you didn't know what it was, or like a horn, but
Yeah.
3 of them, right? And you didn't know what it was called until we actually looked up these rules, and it was like, oh, it's called a tricorn. You're like, because I told you, hey, we can't use the tricorn. You're like, what?
Yeah,
What the heck
what is that?
And I said, oh, it's the logo.
Yeah.
We also found out that you can't really use the word Destiny with the actual font that it uses. That's copyrighted as well.
Yeah, that skinny spaced out font, can't do that.
Yep.
So we put our merchandise up on Redbubble, which is a popular selling site online. And like Diddy said, you could buy products for maybe about a month to 6 weeks or something like that. Thanks to anybody who bought that stuff. It was really cool. We did not break even on it. I'll share that in a minute, but it doesn't matter. It was a labor of love. And we got a notification from Activision with a takedown notice for the merchandise saying that we were infringing upon their intellectual property. And it was like a cease and desist, a kind cease and desist, not an official one. And when you work through a platform like Redbubble has people, and in these websites have people all the time who are trying to sell trademark stuff. Like if I tried to sell a shirt with Mario on it, of course Nintendo's going to be like, no, that is our guy, right? But I was a little disappointed to get this because it's like, we followed the rules. We weren't infringing on any sort of trademark or copyright with this deal. What it likely was is Activision. It was through Activision. They probably have a bot that scours stuff like this, or I don't want to say a low-level position, but they probably have a position that's overwhelmed trying to find all instances of these things and shutting it down. And I think because our show is called Destiny the Show, and it's so close to Destiny the game, that probably set off their alarm bells. Now, there was an option where you could contest it, just like you can contest like a copyright claim on a YouTube video, right? And I would have been happy to contest it because we definitely knew the legality issues here. Like, we are not doing anything wrong. But when you do that contesting form, you are stating you are ready to go to court to fight this if Activision takes it one step further. You are declaring, I am ready to go to a legal battle with you over this. And it was not worth it. I think we spent, the commission, I don't remember what the commission cost, but all I know is in terms of the sales, we did not break even. It doesn't matter. It was a labor of love. I harbor no hard feelings. That's just how the internet and how this stuff works. But if you have any of Crazy Ditty's merchandise, it is extremely exclusive, and that's why we never pursued making more.
Yep. You could put it up for auction and make millions of dollars.
Totally. It's like
but
Beanie
if you
Babies.
do, then we're going to sue you for the... oh, just kidding. We're not EA. We're Activision, rather.
Any other stories that you want to share from that time?
Yeah, so it was... So about a year and a half ago, actually, I was job hunting. And this was before I had my current job. And, every so often I would pull up a lot of game developers' career pages just to kind of see what was out there, because I know a lot of the positions out there for game developers I wouldn't be qualified for, but just kind of see how my skills stacked up. And for those of you who don't know, at this time I was, or I still currently am, kind of, I was in IT. I was like a junior information technology administrator, help desk, answering the phones, fixing people's computers, that kind of stuff. And one Saturday morning, I was, eating breakfast and I was perusing the Bungie careers page, and they had a position that was perfectly in line with my skill set. And it just so happened that I was, looking for a new job at that time. And I said, oh my God, this is ridiculous. And I stopped everything I was doing and I applied for the job. This was an entry-level IT position. It was at Bungie headquarters in Bellevue, Washington. And of course, I'm in Texas. And I applied immediately and didn't think anything of it. Well, about a week and a half later, I received an email from a recruiter at Bungie. And they said, hey, we really like your application. We'd like to schedule a phone interview with some of the IT people here, and if you could fill out this NDA, and they'll give you a call. We'll put it together. So I did, and I'm not breaching any NDA that I signed right now because I'm not going to tell you exactly what we talked about. But I scheduled a phone interview. I had a phone interview with IT people at Bungie for an entry-level IT job, and I thought it went really well. This was before Destiny 2 came out, and they were kind of in the beginning marketing stages of the game, and it was a really exciting time. Unfortunately, I did not progress in the interview process, mainly due to they didn't give me a reason why, of course, but I would like to assume that. Since I would need to relocate, and for the level of position that it was, they were probably not willing to, pay for a relocation fee or whatever, or maybe my skills just didn't add up. Maybe it wasn't a good personality fit. I don't know exactly, but I did interview for a job at Bungie, and unfortunately didn't get it. But that was kind of like a dream situation to be happening at that time. It was unbelievable. I never thought I would even get a call.
I remember that. That was really cool. And I mean, you can maybe comment more on this. I see it from the outside in. Some things played out in your life that actually ended up being a really big, awesome thing. And I think moving would have been very challenging. That's a long move.
I mean, this was before I had proposed to my fiance, and it was like, well, if I do this, I'm going to have to move to Washington. And it would have been, and we sat down, we talked about it, and we said, okay, she understood. Yeah, this is Bungie. You got to go for it. You got to try. And if they offer you a job, we'll take it from there. But the plan was, I would move up there as a temporary living arrangement, and she would follow, 6 months down the line, make sure that the job worked out, and we would have moved with the dogs and everything. So,
yeah.
But of course, it didn't progress, and then I applied for, interviewed, and got my current job, and I absolutely could not be happier with my current situation. Like, my job right now is exactly what I want, and we'll talk about what I currently do in just a little bit. And I'm actually very happy I didn't get the Bungie job. It would have been very difficult to move my life, but I was in a good spot career-wise, and in terms of my age, I'm very young. I would have been able to make that move, that life-changing decision, but it didn't play out. And honestly, I've benefited greatly from that not working out.
It's cool you took the shot, though.
Yeah, it was. I mean, you never know until you try, right? And that gave me a lot of experience. It was like the first true technical interview that I had. They questioned me about IT things that I never thought they would have asked, and it was like, oh, well, that's a really interesting question. So I gotta think really hard about that answer. But you had to be really quick on the spot because it's a phone interview. But it was really neat. I liked it a lot.
Speaking of, I don't know how to segue into this, but if you look at the roster of Destiny the shows, you'll see that we're on episode 224, and everyone is present and still in the library except episode 169. Episode 169 has been lost to the Infinite Forest, and as much as I would love to share the story with you guys of why it's no longer available, that's going to be one of those stories that if we ever bump into a DTS listener out in the wild, we'll go grab like tacos and beer, and we can tell you that story in person. But I just, there's only one episode that's been lost to the Infinite Forest, Eddie, and that is 169.
Yeah. And it just so happened to be the episode that I announced my engagement on, and it was like, man. But yeah, that's an in-person story. You'll just have to think about what that entails,
Yep. So let's kind of move towards wrapping up here. I want to talk about what's next for you and me, life, career, hobby, gaming, and then maybe moving into some parting thoughts for the listeners and some thank yous. So, Ditty, what's next for me? I know it's rude to step in front of you, but I'll just frame it and then
how about this? BBK, what's next for you? Like, what's currently on your plate in your career and your life?
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Where do you see yourself in 5 months or 3 years or 18 days,
Yeah. Does
3 hours.
the question of where you see yourself in 5 years get scarier to you the older you get? Because for me, it's more unclear now than it was 5 years ago. Do you know what I mean? Maybe not for you. You're pretty. A lot of things are coming together very, very nicely. So maybe I asked it a wrong time, but you know what I mean? That question maybe never gets less fearful. So
Yeah.
I'm going to continue creating YouTube content. It's been a really fun hobby. I'm still going to play Destiny. We're still going to follow Destiny. It's going to be very hard for us not to look at TWABs and do all these things. It's going to be kind of weird not recording weekly shows with you.
Yeah, we're still going to have the habit, but,
Work has been getting a lot harder for me. I work in marketing, and I can't really talk much about it. So I'll just say that it's been a challenging year, and I look forward to maybe ways to complete challenges, solve things, get better, all that jazz. But I will say this year has been hard in terms of work, and it's going to continue to be pretty challenging and stressful for the foreseeable future. In terms of hobbies, I love mountain biking and I love snowboarding. This year is the first year I've really gotten back on the ball with mountain biking in terms of training and riding a lot. If you guys didn't know, I used to race mountain bikes all through high school, and I even was a pro for a couple of years. I got the snot kicked out of me when I was a pro because I was trying to go to college at the same time, and yeah, I had a few races where I finished pretty close to last, unfortunately, but it was still a fun time. I mean, and I like doing that. It's getting colder, so I want to learn some new hobbies. I've been getting piano back dialed again this year, which has been pretty cool, but there's always new things to go out and learn. And then in terms of gaming, this year has been, I think, a really good year for me. A lot of times with YouTube, when you earn revenue from YouTube videos, it's not a lot, but it can help with some elements of the bills. And so it can be really easy to dedicate a lot of time towards it. And this year has been a growthful year in the place where I'm accepting the fact that I can't keep up with full-time YouTubers, and I can't try and maintain a schedule. If you look at the Forsaken launch, I think by the time we were 1 month in, I had maybe 6 videos done on Destiny 2, 5 or 6, and some of the competitor channels had like upwards of 30. I'm getting to a place where I play games to spend time with friends and also work on YouTube stuff, but the amount of time I've put into it has decreased quite a bit. And I think that's healthy moving forward, trying to find a balance where I'm not working all the time. As fun as it is to create YouTube content and what a dream it is to get to make gaming videos and earn a little bit of revenue from it, it's still a job. And so coming home from a stressful day at work and then just doing more work, I think I've had a bad balance in my life for the last 2 years, and this year, I think I'm starting to figure it out. So maybe I got a little bit deeper with that than I should have there, but what about you, Ditty? What's next for you? Your life, your career, hobby, gaming?
Yeah, so obviously getting married soon before the end of the year. So that's extremely exciting. We're both extremely happy with everything that we've got going on. In terms of career, of course, I've moved from a help desk role into a security analyst role. I also do internal IT help for the company I'm at, but primarily the security analytics. So I work for a cybersecurity consulting firm, and it's so much better than I ever thought it would be. I was very interested in networking and security, and this was kind of like an entry-level role that I applied for, and I have since moved up into more intermediate and advanced roles. It works. It makes the most sense to me. I'm having a lot of fun with it, and in the very near future, I'm working on some professional certifications. More specifically, if any of you are familiar, I am working on, since I do the IT stuff, working on an MCSE for Windows Server 2016 and Office 365. That's the Microsoft Certified Solutions Expert or something like that. Systems, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm also working on a CCSP, which is a Certified Cloud Security Practitioner. So those are the immediate future. Of course, a step up from the CCSP would be the CISSP, which is like if you're in information security, the CISSP is like the certification to get, but you need 5 years of experience in the field. So I'll be working towards that, and I'll be working towards a more higher level security role. I love it. It's a lot of fun.
That's awesome, man. Hobbies, gaming?
Oh yeah. So hobbies, of course, we've got the dog training still going on. We kind of, well, okay, I lied. We're not doing dog training right this second because we've been focusing on the wedding stuff. But once we get married, we're going to go back to dog training classes, doing dog sports. Flynn does rally, which is competitive obedience and healing. Whiskey is still crazy. So his focus is not all there. If he sees another dog, it's really hard to get his attention back away from that dog. So we really want him to do agility, but we haven't found the right trainer for that yet. Hopefully we can get some good practice in before we go back into a class.
Nice.
And then gaming, my fiance and I, we love Killing Floor. It's super fun. We recently got a Nintendo Switch, so we've been playing Breath of the Wild together.
Nice.
And that game is incredible. That's honestly our first Legend of Zelda game. Neither of us really grew up playing the games. We were playing other games. She was doing Resident Evil stuff. I was doing Halo and the wrong games, according to her. And Breath of the Wild has been such a, for lack of a better phrase, a breath of fresh air. It is incredible what this game provides. It's really nice. And we got Smash coming out pretty soon. I'm really excited for that. So yeah, it's going to be fun.
I'm looking forward to playing Smash with you, and I agree. Breath of the Wild, played it on the Wii U at the beginning of the year. I originally only bought the Wii U for Zelda, and then when it came out for Switch and Wii U, I was like, no! But it's a great game on the Wii U as well. Yeah, if anybody's really burned out on modern games, and you have a console that supports it, dude, Breath of the Wild. Take it at your own pace. Just sit back and enjoy it. Really cool. Nintendo, dude. It's odd. The older I get, the more I appreciate Nintendo's design philosophies because it's like, this isn't an esport. You don't have to dedicate your life to it, and it's fun for almost anybody. Like most of their titles, you can put in the hands of anyone.
Yeah, if you haven't played it in 6 months, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because the meta hasn't changed, right? Mm-hmm. It's still going to be the adventure game. Speaking of meta, a recent gaming achievement of mine, League of Legends World Championships is going on right now, and I haven't played League in about 5 or 6 months, but they said, hey, if you get gold this season, you get the Victorious Orianna skin, which is a mid lane mage that I only play when I get mid, and I don't have a skin for Orianna yet. And I said, I wonder what level I am. I was still in gold, but I was like -3 LP, so if I lost my next game or if I didn't play for another week or two, it would have kicked me back down to silver. So I said, okay. So I played a game and I won, and I went, okay, there's my League of Legends for the year. I'm done. I get the skin. Oh my gosh. We're good to go.
Good stuff, dude. You got your skin. That's amazing.
Yep.
All right, so some parting thoughts for the listeners as we wrap up Destiny the Show. I want to just say thank you guys. Every one of you who've listened to the show, who've been in the Discord, who we've played with, who's watched one of the YouTube videos, thank you. This podcast was purely started 4.5 years ago just on a whim of, hey, Ditty, we like Bungie, we love Halo, do you want to try this? And it turned into an adventure that has impacted both Ditty and our lives positively. I can safely say...
A heroic adventure.
A heroic adventure. Good deal, man. Now we just got to do it backwards on the special day, and we'll get a prize. Selfishly, doing this podcast has helped improve, I think, both of our speech skills dramatically. Like talking in front of other people or, job interviews, things like that. I really think it's helped. And I want to thank everybody, dude. It's bittersweet today, for sure. And all the stories you guys have shared with us the last month about when you started listening or where you listen. It's been cool. And I appreciate it deeply. Your parting thoughts, Ditty?
Me too. I'm just going to reiterate the speaking skills that we've gained. It's just like, you don't think about it, right? When I was doing my job hunt and we were in the middle of doing the podcast, we had you and I doing this podcast has allowed us to grow our speaking skill in that we know how to hold a conversation now. There's no awkward pauses when we speak. There's no stammering or excessive amount of ums or uhs. And as I say that, I'm probably doing it right now. But it's crazy to see. It's not something you usually practice, speaking, right? It's just so natural. But at the same time, when you're put on the spot, it could just break down and you could sound not so intelligent.
Yeah.
And going through the interview process for a multiple job, they say, wow, you speak really well. And the reason I say that is because in IT, communication skills are lacking for a lot of engineers or admins or help desk people. And it's an undervalued, or it's a very highly valued skill that not a lot of technical people have. So I would say if you're in any field, regardless of what you do, doing something like this on a weekly or daily or monthly basis is good practice. And it's going to benefit you not just as a person, but professionally, with your friends, with your social life, with your family, just being able to hold a conversation. Personally, as I say that, also know that I hate small talk. If I pass you in the hall and you say, hey, how's your weekend? And I'm like, I got stuff to do. Stop talking to me. Like I just shut it down because I hate small talk. But actually being able to hold a conversation where I'm talking with the client, talking with my boss, talking with friends of mine at coffee, with my fiance, we're just able to have a nice conversation because honestly, you and I have practiced a lot, and I would highly encourage something like this to anyone out there, right? My boss actually said, you speak really well. Maybe you should try Toastmasters. Toastmasters is this program that improves business communication, business ethics, or that kind of stuff. Presenting, maybe you have to do a presentation at work or at school, and it just helps you do that kind of stuff. So look into it.
Yeah, I think that's a good piece of advice I wanted to offer here. If any of you are excited or passionate about something and you'd want to start a podcast of your own, I could not encourage you more to take that step. Do it with a buddy, do it with a friend, make new friends, guests, that sort of thing, but really take that dive because, like Ditty said, it can transform lots of aspects, and you could create something that allows you to connect with a lot of people. If we go back and we listen to the first year of Destiny the Show, our banter, our rhythm, all that stuff is terrible, like compared to where it eventually became. And that's just how everything in life works. So practice it. And if you're passionate about this, I really encourage anybody. I do this with YouTube too. If there's even an ounce of curiosity about, man, would that be fun? I think I'd want to try that. Do it.
Yeah.
Just take that step. And the last thing I wanted to share, one of the biggest lessons I've learned the last 4.5 years, you can be constructively critical of something and still enjoy it a lot. Destiny, throughout its whole lifespan, has had contentious opinions, people on side A or B of the fence, and there's always going to be hot button issues in the scene. One of the biggest...
Like, I prefer skill-based matchmaking.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about it. Let's break it down, the pros and the cons. And there's a repeating theme I see on my YouTube videos and even on the older Destiny the shows where if you don't like it, then just leave. Well, throughout all of life, you can really enjoy something as well as being constructively critical of it, offering positive feedback and discussion points. Because the whole, if you don't like it and leave, just shuts down all conversation. So moving forward, I just want to share that with people. Both Ditty and I have had periods of time where we love and dislike Destiny, but at its core, we've always wanted to see this game and community succeed. And having those conversations and being constructive about it is key for moving forward. But Ditty, thanks for 4.5 years of Destiny the show.
You're welcome.
Something fell over in my apartment. It freaked me out.
I carried the show for 4 years. Just kidding.
Yeah, backpacked it super hard. But for real, thanks for showing up and thanks for doing this with me. Thanks for this heroic adventure. Listeners, thank you guys for everything. And I wish you the best of luck on whatever your next ventures are. Ditty and I aren't going anywhere. We're happy to talk with you guys in the Discord. Yeah, that's all I got, Ditty.
That's all I got. I just want to point on one thing that you said. Be passionate and speak about the thing that you're passionate about. It is much easier to improve your speaking skills if you're talking about something that you're passionate about. And for us, that was Destiny. Find the thing you're passionate about and make it a hobby, make it your career, and just talk about it.
Awesome. Well, Ditty, where can people find your content?
Twitter.com/DittyDTS, DITTY DTS, and YouTube.com/Wooshness, WOOOSHNESS. And you can follow our puppies at Flynn on Instagram at Flynn_and_whiskey, EY.
Yep. I'll have links to those things on our show notes today on our website, destinytheshow.com. I'll leave the website up for the foreseeable future if you guys ever want to dive back into the history books of DTS. You can follow us on Twitter at Destiny the Show. Who knows, if we show up for a secret surprise holiday thingy, we'll definitely talk about it over there. You can follow me on all the socials at BBKDRAGOON. Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, YouTube, all that jazz. And then finally, if you want to join in the conversation and just keep chatting with us, discord.me/Destiny the Show. Thanks, everybody, and we'll talk with you next time.